Ladies and gentlemen, I too choose to be inspired. I'm honored to support John Edwards. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work on his behalf, and I respectfully ask Iowa Democrats to join me in caucusing for him on January 3rd and encourage your friends and families to do the same. So please help me give a wonderful, warm Iowa welcome to the next President of the United States.
Thank all of you very much for being here. Thank you to my old and dear friend and loyal friend, I might add, Roxanne Conlon. Thank you to the woman I love more than any person in the world, my wife, Elizabeth. And thank you to Mari Culver, a great First Lady here at the Capitol. Just a word about Mari first, because here's a woman who doesn't just talk the talk, she walks the walk. When we went to a shelter earlier today together, when we walked in, the people there, the people who ran the place, plus some of the families, recognized her immediately, said she was like part of the household. They knew her so well. I mean, this was not just her appearing for purposes of doing politics with me. She was there because this is a cause that's deep inside her, because she cares about people who are struggling, women like the women we saw today, who are trying to make a better life for themselves and for their family. It says so much about her, about her character, about her soul, about her compassion for other people, that when the spotlight's not on and the cameras aren't there, that she's there sitting with, standing with people who desperately need her help. I'm also proud to have her support because she's going to help me win the Iowa caucus. We have so much work to do in this country, so much work to do, and so much opportunity in front of us. We look at what's happening in America today, and what's happening is there's some very powerful forces that stand between you and the America that you deserve. There are very powerful forces, well-financed forces, that stand between your children's future and the kind of future they should have. That's what this campaign is about. That's what this election is about. Are we faced with enormous substantive issues? Yes, we are. The war in Iraq, universal health care, energy, global warming, poverty, taxes, trade. There are enormous substantive issues facing this country. But the reality is this: unless and until we actually take the country, the democracy back on behalf of the American people, unless and until you have a President of the United States who's willing to stand up with some backbone and guts and fight and stand up to these corporate interests and stand up to those that are preventing America from I'm very proud of the fact that I've never, in my entire time in public life, taken money from Washington lobbyists or PACs. You also cannot bring about, in my judgment, the change that this country so desperately needs, either if you take their money or if you say we're going to sit at the table with insurance companies, drug companies, and they're going to compromise their power away. That they're just going to give their power away voluntarily. It is a fantasy. It will never happen. I'll tell you, when they give up their power, the insurance companies, drug companies, oil companies, when they give up their power is when we take their power away from them. And you look at what's at stake. Look at what's at stake. I met a man named James Lowe just a few months ago. He's 51 years old. James was born with a cleft palate. Because he had a cleft palate, he couldn't speak. He could have been fixed with a simple, his problem could have been fixed with a simple operation. But James had no health care coverage. Therefore, he couldn't get the operation. Finally, somebody came along and fixed his problem when he was 50 years old. James Lowe lived for 50 years in America, not able to speak because he had no health care coverage. And I thought to myself when he told me his story, how long are we going to let insurance companies, drug companies, their lobbyists run this country? America belongs to us. James Lowe finally got his voice. Now it's time for the American people. And Elizabeth always says, and she's right, that this is all personal for me. When I speak about these things, they come from my gut. They come from inside. Everything that drives me every day toward the presidency is what I want to do on behalf of people like James Lowe, on behalf of the women that Elizabeth, Mary, and I met this morning, living in that shelter, who deserve a decent life. On behalf of my own parents, I had this experience just a couple of weeks ago of going back to the house that I was brought home to when I was born in a little mill village in South Carolina. Two-room house. My parents were with me. Two-room house. Right up the street is where my grandmother, who I loved dearly and helped raise me, lived. And my grandfather, which I still remember, because she'd take care of us because my parents were both working. I still remember my grandmother leaving, cooking for us, leaving that house with her apron on, making her way over to the mill to work her shift. And then she'd come back home. And my grandfather, who was partially paralyzed, would drag his leg alongside him and make his way over to the mill to work his shift. It was usually the third shift. And then make his way home. And my father, who's like many of your parents, my father who went to work every day, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, in the mills for 36 years. 36 years. Hard, tedious work. Why did they do it? Why did my grandparents do it? Why did my parents do it? Why did your parents do it? Why did your grandparents do it? I'll tell you why they did it. They did it so that you could have a better life. They did it to make sure that they did what all the generations before them had done, which is to make sure their children had a better life and that they left America better than they found it.